Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our sixth My Ocean story. I'm Christine Stortini of Ocean Minded, and this is Claudia Hurtado of Fundación Coral Col in Colombia. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have our very dear friend, Nicole Galase, here joining us from Hawaii. She is the chair of the Friends of Hawaiian Islands National Wildlife Refuge, as well as the managing director of the Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. And she does a lot of really important sustainability work with them as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. Hi, Christine. Hi, Claudia. It's been so great to know you in separate ways and then come together with this.
Yeah. So Nicole and Claudia actually went to university together for their master's degree in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, we went to Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand, and we have a mutual friend with Christine, all three of us, our dear friend Emma, who brought us together and somehow across the world has made lifelong friends between all of us.
Exactly. It's amazing. And we live in such widely different places, and we've been able to make this connection. And we're so connected because of Emma's passion for the environment and how we all have that shared passion. So it's really wonderful that we can start to make those connections and like start to work together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Nicole has a few pictures and to go with her answers to our My Ocean Story questions today. So I'm going to share my screen.
Claudia told me that she wants to see things, not just hear things. So
I didn't
want to bore you.
Yeah, it's definitely like much more, I guess the word is enriching, something like that. Like,
yeah.
It's so much better to see things and hear. So I'm very visual, so.
Yes.
And you have such beautiful photos, so I'm excited for everyone to see all the cool places that you've been and the cool work that you've done. So here we go. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you can make it presentation mode so we can see the whole thing.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, I put this together because Christine and Claudia asked me, what does the ocean mean to you? And honestly, it sounded like a really easy question. And I said, sure, I'll come talk to you guys. And after a while, I thought, oh gosh, this is a really hard question. You know, the ocean gives me so much. It's a place where we play, a place where we go to relax. It's been such a big part of my life, both in play and work. I've been really lucky to grow up always living no more than 10 or 15 minutes away from the ocean. I don't think I've ever taken it for granted. Next slide. I think the ocean has given me a lesson in so many things. It's humbling. It's awe-inspiring. It's necessary to our lives. Some of these photos are of my friends and my dad fishing in the ocean. It's a playground for surf, for diving, for paddling canoe, the source of food. But it's also something we need to steward. Next slide. In order to be able to enjoy these things from the ocean, being able to use it, being able to take from it, we need to care for it to make sure that these things can continue to happen for us long into the future. We can't just keep taking from it. We need to be able to put work in to garner these benefits. It's this mutual give and take, whether it's cleaning up trash or consuming less or influencing lawmakers to make the right decisions about zoning. It takes intentional work. And stewardship, which I talked about, being able to steward the land, that comes with responsibility. Next slide. So this responsibility is to do the right thing to ensure that the ocean is still thriving for generations after us. And I've been lucky enough to work in this place, Papahanamokukea, for several seasons. This is a place that not everybody gets to go to. And when we think about the generations after us that we're preserving the ocean for, we might not meet them. We might not ever know who they are, but we still have a responsibility to leave them an ocean that they can continue to steward. Yeah. So it's this give and take that I realize that the ocean is teaching us. My career has been pretty windy. I've been blessed to work in some really beautiful remote places. You can go to the next slide. In New Zealand, the main Hawaiian Islands, Papahanamokukea Marine National Monument. And this give and take is something I've been trying to apply everywhere. Thinking about where you traverse and how it's benefiting you, and then automatically thinking of how you can contribute in a good way. Like Christine said, I'm currently the chair of the Friends of Hawaiian Islands National Wildlife Refuge. One of our current projects is creating a curriculum that includes the natural and cultural resources of this place, the Hawaiian Islands National Wildlife Refuge. We found that a lot of local Hawaii people don't end up working out there, and it's actually because they don't know about it. And you can't care about a place unless you know about it. So the first thing we're doing is trying to put together a curriculum. And the next slide has that's a link to our website. We are in the midst of putting together a curriculum with these great curriculum creators. It's going to be more of a social science. So instead of memorizing facts and figures, it's about the kids learning their place in how they can help steward the land. We want our students to understand that they can actually take a role in making a difference. Yeah.
And did you want to tell us a little bit more about what, the importance of this place?
Sure. Yeah. So Papahanamokukea Marine National Monument is to the northwest of the main Hawaiian Islands. It is a place that cultural practitioners and researchers can go to visit, but it's not a place that anyone can just freely drive or fly or boat to. So it has so much diverse wildlife, though, and so many areas of where the Hawaiians would go and they would practice their cultural practices. The fact that we can't get there, though, it's a real lesson in knowing that we still have a responsibility to steward the land by making sure that what we do where we are living doesn't negatively impact this place, which is, can be up to 2,000 miles away. Everything we do, whether you see the ocean or not, whether you go to the beach every day or not, the things that you do have an effect on how healthy our oceans are. I think it's really important for us to understand that we actually have an impact. And it's kind of a difficult thing to say, please protect something that you don't actually have access to. But it is something that we need to start thinking about because our world is connected in ways that we never even knew. I mean, Christine and Claudia, you guys are all across the globe, and you and I, we all affect each other. Before we met, we were affecting each other, and we had no idea how. So there's all these hidden connections, and I think we just have to trust that, yes, indeed, everything is connected. And so we need to care for these relationships.
I just got shivers when you said that because it's so true. Before we actually met each other, our interactions with our mutual friend actually would have had an impact on each other through some degree of separation, right? And,
yeah. Now I got the shivers. You can go to the next slide, actually. Okay, so speaking of these connections, I have an example, one of these connections from the ocean. One of the jobs that I had a couple of years ago was studying the Ban Rump storm petrel. This is a seabird. So a seabird lives at the sea, but when it breeds, it goes to land to breed. This area that you see in the terrain behind me, that is on the Big Island of Hawaii. It is at 2,000 meters elevation, and it's more than 50 kilometers from any coast. But that band-rump storm petrel that you see in the bottom left corner, that band-rump storm petrel goes all the way that way to breed. That's where it decides to nest. And when it does that during the breeding season, it's taking nutrients from the ocean and it's bringing it up to this 2,000 meter elevation. And there's that connection that we don't readily see. And when I say that that happens, that means very simply that the bird is eating in the ocean and then pooping up on the land, which is great. We love that. Yeah. And so this is just a little guy that this French frigate shows. One of the things that makes it all worthwhile, there are these charismatic megafauna that it's easy to see why we care for what we care for. But then there's so many things underneath all of that, ocean temperatures, microorganisms, all these processes that it's difficult for us to see. So I feel like anytime we see something cute like this, we have to think about the things that aren't necessary, that are still doing huge, huge things in the ocean that aren't just affecting the ocean, but affecting what we're doing on the land.
Yeah. There was a bit of a glitch, but I think the main message still came through. But just to reiterate, you were saying like these charismatic creatures depend on a fully functioning ecosystem. So they depend on those smaller organisms that we can't see, or the smaller organisms that maybe aren't as cute, but it's all important, right?
Yeah. The ocean is such a immense, vast space that there are things we can see, but there's much more that we don't see. There's so much about the ocean that hasn't been learned about yet, and I think we just have to trust that there are amazing things happening out there, and they might not be right in front of our eyes.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess I'll stop sharing my screen. We can just chat a little bit more. I guess you already got into it a little bit, but the second question is, how does your love for the ocean and the connection that you have for the ocean, how does that feed into your day-to-day? I guess that is why you volunteer for the Friends of Hawaiian Islands Wildlife Refuge. But is there any other way that feeds into your day-to-day?
So many ways. Definitely the reason why I will spend my time volunteering, not getting paid, but still getting a lot of value out of being on the board of the Friends of Hawaiian Islands National Wildlife Refuge. I've made it my mission to get people my age onto the board, to work on this mission to get more education about the place into our schools. And it's a way for me to stay connected with what's happening in Papahanamokukea. I think that there's lots that the ocean has taught about being humble. The ocean is definitely, whether it's getting thrashed or needing to understand how to navigate in a 6-man canoe as a steerswoman, it's very much knowing that even though you feel like you're in control, there's so much that you have to understand to be able to really, really navigate the ocean. I think that it has, it's just been a really good way to stop and think about what's actually important. So there's that humbling side, and then there's that side where it just gives back to you too. Like I said, I'm really lucky where I live really close to the ocean. And I do find sometimes where I'll go a couple days or a week not going to the beach. And after a while, I think, why not? And all it takes is just that little jaunt to the beach and being refreshed by the fact that there's just this body of water. It's necessary for us, our mental health.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now that I don't necessarily work with in Papahanamokukea, it is really interesting to see in my day job as I'm working with the Hawai'i Cattle Council, another way where all these connections are made. And you think, Claudia and Christine, you would both agree that the ocean connects to the land. Nothing is separate from each other. And so when it comes to working with the cattlemen, I know that they get a lot of bad reputation for folks who think that cattle is bad for the land. But one of the things that we are working on is constantly improving. So the cattlemen are actually constantly improving their practices. And there's this aspect of being able to continue your business. And that's why you're caring for the land. And in turn for caring for the land, your business is perpetuated. So it's a really nice cycle of caring for the land and continuing your operation. All of these things all have to do with the ocean because there is no separation. And so, yeah, it's been really great to have conservation still part of my life when I work with the ranchers.
So how is the relationship with the ranchers? Like, are they very keen on doing all this kind of conservation work, or can you find maybe sometimes some resistance from some?
So in Hawaii, the ranchers that I work with, they are the original conservationists. They are on the land every day and they see the changes that happen. They're observationists. So when they see a bad practice contributing to a bad reaction, so like runoff and things like that, they're always looking to solve that problem. And so it's really fun working with them because whereas in conservation, you have this project to do just because you have to do it, I think that with the ranchers, the problem is always wrapped into this other work that they're doing that doesn't seem to have anything to do with conservation. But in conserving, they're making their practices better. One example of that is improving practices of grazing. So by deploying practices where they're doing rotational grazing and rotational intentional grazing, they're able to actually sequester more carbon in the ground, and that contributes to soil health. And I do think that soil is one of the most important things that we need in this world to continue feeding ourselves and to keep this world healthy. The way that connects to the ocean, actually, everything connects to the ocean, is that when the soil is healthy and it has strong grass growing on it, that prevents runoff. If you look at a really healthy grazed field, that is going to be deep, rich soil where grass is covering it. If you look at a field that has not been grazed, or maybe even compare it to concrete, that runoff is going to bring all the dirt and all the debris straight to the ocean. So it's really interesting how a rancher who might not be anywhere near the ocean, which some of them are, has such a connection to the ocean still.
That would be the idea if everybody in every industry was conducting their operations in a way that was beneficial not only to their own the sustainability of their business, but also the sustainability of the planet. That would be the ideal. And I guess that's what we're all hoping for, and that's what we are all working towards, right?
And I think it's difficult, but when you realize that, sustaining your business at the same time as sustaining the whole environment around you actually means that you'll be able to continue your operation, then it turns out to be worth it, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And so what is your favorite part of the job, of all jobs? Like, what can you take from each one of them?
Oh gosh. You know, I've had a very wacky road in careers. I've done remote field work where I'm only with one other person on a tiny island for 6 months. I've worked in the forest. I've worked with monk seals, with seabirds. My most recent job was maybe the most remote because I was hiking by myself out in the middle of nowhere for miles and miles and just looking at videos of birds. And now I've kind of done this 180 where now instead of being by myself, I'm constantly working with people, talking with legislators, talking with ranchers, talking with the community. So it's this influx of people. But I do realize that throughout all of those things, I think my favorite part of it was creating those really strong relationships. So even when it was working with just one other person, it had to be a really good relationship. I think some folks think, oh, to work in a remote place, you have to be a hermit. No, you have to be really good with people to work in a remote place because you're stuck with one other person, and you really have to have some social graces to be able to be happy with each other. And then now, when it comes to working in my current day job, it's this education of people that might not understand the arena yet. And so you have to create relationships before people are going to trust you. I think it helps that I'm not actually a rancher. So it's not like I'm out here touting things just because I want to say it, but it's things that I've learned, that I've found as a connection to conservation, that I'm trying to share with the conservation community. Because I really do see so much overlap in what the ranchers do compared to what conservationists do. And they're all going to the same endpoint. And I do think that if we collaborate a little bit more, share some resources, and maybe not even resources, but just share some ideas and understanding and not get in each other's way, we could make so much more progress towards actually finding systems where our everyday lives are a little less impactful on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no matter where I go, I have to have good relationships, and that takes work.
And I guess you're such a social person too. So like all of your volunteer work with the Friends of Hawaiian Islands Refuge and your job is to work with people for sustainability, which is like like you're such a wonderful, like, bright light person. So it's like yeah.
Yeah, she is.
Perfect. For you to be, to like shine that light and like bring these people together and to help people to spread their own message and to do the work that they want to do.
And I think that's the thing, is that I am not that special or important or powerful, but it really is getting a lot of people to get onto the same page, because that is powerful. You know, when I talk about the things that we can do for the ocean, those are not things that I think I can do all of those things and make a huge difference. But if everybody has that idea and takes a small little role and it becomes this habit within the community, then that actually probably will do something where you actually see a big difference.
Agree.
I actually never heard a whole lot about the work that you were doing with monk seals. What were you what did you work with monk seals about?
Yeah. So that was a season at Lalo, French frigate shows. I was there to monitor the populations. And so this was a set of tiny islets. So we had to boat to each island, and I would say that my work as working with the monk seals was to be a ninja. My job was to observe them without them knowing I was there.
Nice.
So literally crawling around, creeping with binoculars, and trying to figure out who was who by their tags without them actually seeing me, because the goal was to cause as little disturbance as possible. The issue there was that there was some predation on the monk seals. And so that was some of the things we had to do, is kind of monitor and watch to make sure that there wasn't predation from sharks on these monk seal pups. The monk seal pups, there's so few and far between that each one is really, really important. So if a shark were to take one of those pups, that's an entire year of work that is no longer resulting in a monk seal added to the population.
Right. And that's because this population is endangered.
Yes. So the Hawaiian monk seal is endangered. I actually believe that all the monk seals in the world, there are 3, are all endangered. I won't say that. I know that the Hawaiian monk seal is endangered. Yeah. I'm sorry. My dog is growling right now.
That's all right. He's protecting you.
Yeah, he is. He's a Doberman, and he's being a guard dog right now.
That's sweet.
But that work was so nice because it took me out of society for a little while. And I got to work out in Papahanamokukea. Like I said, a place that not everybody gets to work or visit. So I was really grateful for that experience. And so I try to use that to help with the curriculum and the outreach for the Friends of Hawaiian Islands National Wildlife Refuge, to try to help bring that kind of like fervor and excitement about this place to people who haven't actually seen it. And you'd be surprised, just seeing pictures, people realize how beautiful and worth protecting these places are.
So are you almost done this curriculum, and have you connected with the schools that are going to? Yes. That's
so we're in a really great place right now. We've hired a couple of curriculum creators, and they're just such on the same page with us in where they want the curriculum to go. And it really is, like I said earlier, getting kids to realize that they can take a role in it. So even thinking about projects that they can do now, as well as career paths that they can take. You can be a scientist to get out to the Papahanamokukea. You can be a data scientist. You could be a constructor, an environmental scientist. There's so many things that you can do. But we are hoping to have that curriculum done by the end of the year, so that by January we can start putting it into the schools in a pilot project to begin with. Be a short, kind of simple curriculum to begin with, but we are looking for grants to really expand it afterwards. So expand as in beyond 4th grade, or adding to the lessons. One of our pie in the sky dreams is to have the lesson have like an interactive video game on the computer, because so many people are doing online learning, to have something interactive and fun that they can do on the computer. But yeah, we will. It is actually going to be kind of a work in progress even after this first iteration. We're hoping to get grants to really expand on it.
You are mute.
Sorry, I heard a little bit of feedback, so I put mine on mute because I was wondering if that would help. I think it did. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you more about the future goals for this interactive game. Because Claudia and I have been talking a little bit about these sorts.
I can see potential there.
So we're excited to talk more with you about that.
Yeah, I think that, so our curriculum, we were to have be a little bit manageable. our goal is to get it out to local public schools. The idea is that it doesn't just need schools. And that's why connecting with Christine and Claudia means that we can get to Canada or Colombia or New Zealand, and lessons that people learn from the Hawaiian Islands now wildlife refuge can still apply to another country that's so far away. And I think the more we care about these places on a global scale, the more support we'll get overall.
Yeah, I love that idea. And that's exactly where Claudia and I have wanted to go, is making these international connections with our friends and trying to bring these stories about the importance of the ocean from many different places, many different perspectives, so that people can begin to understand the interconnectivity and how the ocean is so important everywhere to everyone. And I think it's an amazing message, and I'm really excited to collaborate with you somehow and our message to Canada. I think it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something that everyone wonders how we got connected, but it's a great connection.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because everybody is.
Yeah. And we didn't have to go jet setting around the world to find each other. We were connected. We were brought together.
Yeah,
exactly.
And we are so many, like through us, there are a lot of people there very keen to join us. So that's really, really special, because not everyone is so welcoming to new things, but many of our friends are. So just saying that you guys come here to just have a chat with us, to talk about your life and your connection to the ocean, and that other people that don't even know us is watching in YouTube, that makes a connection. So I'm pretty grateful for my friends that said yes. I'm very happy.
And even when I was trying to think of the answers to these seemingly simple questions you asked me, I just thought, I'm really grateful that they're taking the time to do these interviews, because it's an important question. And if we don't think about why things matter to us, then we're probably not putting enough effort into how we caretake for it. So it's nice to sit and reflect on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also having these conversations is helping anybody who decides to watch these videos to think about their own connection, because it's relatable. Right? Like, these questions are relatable. It's not like we're talking about like personal connection and things that are tangible and things that are doable in everybody's lives, right?
Yeah.
And we have so many different people. Like here, it's not just scientists, but people that have studied business or economy or whatever they want, but they have some affinity with the ocean and somehow. So we want everyone that have that kind of experience to feel that they are not alone, and that we can come together to do something to take care of it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nice.
Everybody has a role to play. Everybody.
And the ones that don't have, they might start thinking about it, because we all have a connection to the ocean. Maybe some of us or some people don't have it very strong because they don't know it. They don't know what the ocean have, and all the wonders that are under the ocean or whatever. So they just have to see and experience that first. Some people is afraid, but it's because they might not know it, or don't have a nice experience. So that's what we want to change. Like, we want people to see the good side, and to keep working that side. So
exactly.
So
I guess on that note, we can go to our final question, which is, what is your message to the world about the ocean? What would you like to say to everybody who might be listening?
Yeah, I think that's a good time to go into that after that, Claudia. I think what I want to say is that even if you can't, if you've never experienced the beach or the ocean, you've not dived deep, the ocean does do so much for you. And you have to believe that. And you have to take the small things that you can do into your responsibility to keep our oceans healthy. Because like we've been talking about this whole time, everything is connected and likely in ways that we have not even learned about yet. But we all have a responsibility to take care of our entire globe, which is a complex ecosystem, always shifting. And we play a part in that. Yeah. I guess I'm thinking about those folks who are in the middle of, continents and can't get to the beach or things like that. The ocean is still working for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think I was actually speaking with someone from Zambia a couple of days ago, and that's a landlocked country. They're surrounded by other countries. They don't have a coastline on the ocean. But even so, they have a very strong connection with the waterways there, the rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's so important.
Very important. And so I think in most cultures, no matter where you are, there is, and in most countries, most cultures, there is a connection to water. And the thing is, all water flows into the ocean, and it comes from the ocean. Everything is connected. It's the water cycle of the earth. So I think no matter what, people can understand that no matter what way you're on, you are eventually connected to the ocean.
I think we lose track of that when we have conveniences of like turning a tap and things like that. But when you really need to rely on nature, it'll definitely tell you need the ocean.
Well, I guess we'll sign off for now, and we'll continue chatting afterwards. But thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Nicole. This was wonderful to hear your ocean story, and I hope everybody who's watching really enjoyed it as much as we did. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for our 6th My Ocean Story, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.